whatever we. Hey, welcome back to the Seattle Sports Union podcast. My name is Abraham DeWeese. I'm back again with the Southwest Seahawk now, Rob English, and the Savage Nathan Savage. Guys, first I want to start with you, Rob. You a couple of years ago fled California to move to Arizona, just as the Rams have fled California to play on Monday night in Arizona. How's things for your family over in California? Are there any concerns about the fire in their neck of the woods?
So luckily, my mother is in Murrieta, which is in the Inland Empire, and she is not close to the fires yet. She's about a couple hours away, maybe a little less than a couple hours away. But the concern there is with these winds, blowing so vigorously that those fires could jump down to her area, in almost a moment's notice. So everybody's staying on alert. But as of right now, yeah, my family there is totally safe, and it's something that we deal with on a every year. At some point or another, there's fires somewhere, and they've been much closer than they are right now. So we're not totally concerned yet, but we're definitely concerned, and we feel for those folks who lost their homes and their livelihoods up there in the Palisades.
Right on. And Nathan, your family's in Riverside?
Riverside there, but I was born in Santa Monica and then grew up in Pasadena. So
that's right near
sadly, good friends or another family friend who we just call Uncle Peter, but he a couple did lose their homes and kind of lost everything. But luckily, they have been able to stay at our family place in Riverside and some of that, but sometimes I think we get very caught up in the week or football, and then the world or nature kind of reminds us of some of these things. So, just the biggest thing is they were safe, though. It is very difficult. Everything one day you evacuate, and then the next day you get sent a picture of basically your truck out front burned, and then just your fireplace left for them. Wow. But at least they made it out safely, and the evacuation order came out in time and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that you're right, Nathan. That is real life. But we're here to talk NFL playoffs. Maybe take our minds off of that for a little bit. And today we got a couple games on the slate. We have the Chargers at Houston, and we have the Steelers at Baltimore. Let's start with the Chargers Texans. We're just gonna do. We're gonna do surface layer impressions, guys. What's your thoughts about the game that's coming on in a few hours here?
Tough to call. I feel like neither one of those teams are clearly better than the other. I think it's going to be a good game. Tough to call though. I really do want to see. We're talking about the Chargers game, right?
Yeah. Okay. It's okay, Rob. I'm not that excited for this game either.
I'm not excited. I'm not that excited for any of the games, honestly, because the Seahawks aren't in. So I'm only so excited about football right anymore.
Well, let's go with the hate factor, because there's plenty of things to hate. Jim Harbaugh, for one, I don't give a rip about the Chargers, but Jim Harbaugh, I'm like, come on, Texans, can you do this for me? Can you make that? I was going to say a naughty word, but can you make that gentleman unhappy?
That'd unpopular opinion then, because, after all of the hate that I had for Jim Harbaugh, during his 49er years, I actually thought it was, I'm actually kind of happy for him to come back to the NFL and have some success. So I'm actually, if I was going to go for anybody, I think I might actually like to see, not necessarily rooting for them, but I wouldn't mind seeing Harbaugh, show up to a new team and make a winner out of it. And I'm not so down on Harbaugh anymore. I've moved past, my hatred for Harbaugh. The 49ers is where the hate lives. Once you leave the 49ers, I'll stop hating you at some point.
All right, Nathan, I don't like this spiritual growth from Rob English. Do you have any hatred or do you have any thoughts about Harbaugh? Because Harbaugh, if he wins, would be the second coach since Pete Carroll to win with two different teams in his first year.
Yeah, I think one thing is for Seahawks fans, I think this is a good game to watch if you kind of want to watch a version of the Seahawks out on the football field where there's a lot of very good O-linemen, a lot of very solid O-lineman groups. Texans are not that. They were supposed to be a very good team this year. They have one of the worst O-lines and close to by far, I think by far the worst O-line in the playoffs left. And they basically just have Stroud back there getting just constantly under pressure, and it makes them basically unable to play offensive football to the level that they should be able to. So that'll be very interesting to see. I think for another thing for the Seahawks, Harbaugh came in and immediately was faced with, hey, look, we have these flashy, bright lights of an LSU wide receiver who's maybe one of the best prospects we've ever seen coming in, and you know, just all this talent out there, and then he chose to develop the trenches and draft an O-lineman from Notre Dame. Nothing flashy about it. And then here we are where they have a very top O-line unit. Herbert is throwing to nobodies out there, but it doesn't matter because he has time to get it to them. And then also on the defensive side, the defensive line is very strong as well. So I actually, from what I want to see from the Seahawks, I think we're getting a little bit of that with the Chargers. And then from, that little bit of trauma or PTSD from what we watched over the season, we can watch that with the Texans. So I'm a little bit actually excited as a Seahawks fan for this game of just showing again the importance of O-line and defensive line.
So now you're going to call Ladd McConkey a nobody?
Yeah, you're right. That's true. He has been very good. I guess it's more of just not going for neighbors and all this hype and starting first at the O-line and then maybe waiting a little bit later in the draft to then get some of those guys because you have the time to get the ball to them.
And that's something you would like the Seahawks to have, first of all, done years ago, but next year you'd like to see it. Okay, yes. Cool. The next game, by the way, is on Amazon Prime only. It's not on regular TVs, but I feel like most of this country has Amazon Prime. They just forget that there's sports on it. But Steelers Ravens. I am not gonna take the tack that I did with the first game. I'm actually kind of interested in seeing Russell Wilson succeed.
I think that is no pun intended here. That game is really the wild card of the whole weekend. Baltimore is clearly the better team, but these teams in the AFC North, they just have a knack for playing each other very well. And I mean, it's knockdown, drag out football. Anytime these teams play each other, I don't know if you guys watched the latest Hard Knocks. I mean, there's a mutual respect, but there's hatred there. There's every team in the North wants to beat the hell out of the other team when they play them. And so it's anybody's guess. So and Russell Wilson, if anybody who knows anything about Russell Wilson knows that in these type of situations, this is where Russell tends to thrive. Situations where he's not supposed to be able to do what he does, but he finds a way to do it anyway. AFC North battle. I think this game you could definitely see it upset in this game, and I would love to see Russell go ahead and win this game for him. It'd be awesome. I have no hate toward the Ravens or Lamar Jackson or anybody over there. I'm a fan of Lamar Jackson for sure. But I got nothing but love for Russell, and I definitely want to see Russell succeed wherever he can.
Nathan, are you in on the love fest for Russell Wilson, or do you still resent him deep down inside?
I like Russell Wilson, the player, in terms of the product lately and the execution. They've been kind of lacking. It feels like earlier in the season they stomped the Ravens, and then after that game, the Steelers have been kind of going down while the Ravens have just really ascended. Lamar Jackson's going to win the MVP. They're kind of on fire, but if there's any team that can beat them this early in the playoffs, I would say it's the Steelers. They by far the worst team that Lamar Jackson plays against, worst stats, just worst performances, the Steelers. So I like them. I like Tomlin a lot, and I think for Russ for sure we might see a first half of almost looking like a chicken with his head cut off, but he always shows up late in the game. He always does those scramble drills, whatever's needed. We saw it even in the second game against the Ravens where they ended up getting kind of blown out. He started running the ball everywhere. I'm excited for him in these primetime games, exactly like you said, Rob, where he can be looking like, Mitchell Trubisky out there for 3/4 of the game, and then the fourth quarter he looks like, as good as anyone out there in the 2-minute drill late in game trying to win the game. So I hope it stays close. I do hope the Steelers win. I think as good of Lamar Jackson is in the regular season, he lacks in the playoffs and especially against the Steelers. So I want to stay close, and I would be awesome to see another Russell Wilson comeback.
You guys have any predictions if we see Justin Fields, at least for a couple trick plays or something?
I wouldn't be surprised. It's the playoffs. You kind of got to pull out all stops and go out there and win football games. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him out there. Maybe some wildcat or something like that. Who knows? You know what I mean? Mike Tomlin's not a stranger to throwing some wrinkles in there. So, I don't know what the over under is on number of snaps he sees, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Do you guys feel? Have you felt the ground swelling of Seahawks fans, like I have, that they're supporting bringing Justin Fields to the Seahawks?
Go ahead, Nate.
For me, I haven't felt it just because some of the end of season stats came out for Geno, and he was actually top 5 in a ton of categories. And the O-line basically was ranked second to last, and they showed, for the first half of the season, they were last by far. And then I think it was maybe the Colts or a different team just did so terribly that they passed the Seahawks. But for me, at least, on a lot of these advanced statistics, I agree with what they were kind of saying, where when Geno had time, he was very accurate. And when he wasn't pressured, he was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league, top 5. And I'm a big fan of that. And I think, we don't need to beat a dead horse or kick a dog when it's down. But I think with a new offensive coordinator and new game plan, and hopefully some more time in the pocket, I'm excited for Geno. And Fields is not necessarily the type of quarterback, even if we did give up on Geno, that I'd want replacing him. And it seems like the season ended. A lot of that Geno hate, to me at least, has subsided towards more, let's draft someone versus let's bring a backup in from another team.
Right on. And Nathan, you said that you don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's all you did all season long with running up. So
yeah. But now that he's fully dead, I don't want to do it anymore. Okay. The half dead horse I was okay with, but
okay.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what boards you guys are reading, but I'm still seeing all the Geno hate.
I do too. Yeah.
Even despite the what Nathan said with showing that what his final numbers were, which were amazing. Like all BS aside, the guy, he persevered through. I mean, it was tragic, our offensive line, and the situations he was put in. Still managed to be top 5 in multiple categories. I don't know what else you want from someone, and I think a lot of folks they have this. I think certainly newer fans who only came around the Russell Wilson time. They see Justin Fields and they're thinking that Russell Wilson could be Russell Wilson 2.0 in Seattle. I think that's what it is. Every person who I've ever talked to about who they would like to see on the field besides Geno Smith, they're always leaning towards some totally mobile quarterback, somebody who can run. And I think that's why they have this feeling that Justin Fields could come here and do great things. And listen, the guy is on the bench for a reason. Yeah, he played pretty well in Russell Wilson's stead earlier this season, but you're just replacing one thing with at best just as good as what's already there, and probably worse. There's just people just run off at the mouth, and so I'm not on board with bringing Justin Fields in. Unless you're bring him in to compete for the job, but you're not bringing him in to hand it over to him. Let him compete and watch Geno beat him out like he's beat out everybody else. So.
Well, that's been my big complaint is people want to get rid of Geno, and there is good Geno and bad Geno. We've seen it his entire career, but you have to have something better like you said, Rob, you have to have. You can't just replace them with an unknown quantity or a lesser quantity, and then you're just going to end up in this cycle like the Cleveland Browns are, where every quarterback they give up on. Well, maybe Deshaun Watson, it's the correct thing to give up on this guy, but just quarterback after quarterback they give up on, and they just end up in this cycle of top 5 quarterback draft pick, and they dump them after a year or two because they're not willing to stick it out. And that's if you got something better than Geno, if you got the next Russell Wilson, 2012 version, sure, but that only comes along. Guys, we've been Seahawks fans for our whole lives, right? Russell Wilson comes along once.
Right.
There's not going to be
I even want to say too with the Geno hate, it's like at the end of the year he was super injured, limping or hopping back and forth from the sideline, the huddle. We don't hear any of this like, oh, he's doing exercise on the plane like we did with Russ. We don't hear, oh, he's waking up at midnight doing whatever, which I actually like. He kept his head down, played through a serious injury. They won 6 out of 8 games to end the year. One of the teams they lost to only lost to 2 teams all year long. The other team they lost to plays in the NFC North and probably would have gotten first place in the majority of the other divisions in the NFL if they weren't in that division and losing to these top teams. And I don't know. For me, I ended the season with, okay, let's go do something with this. This is a very exciting result. 6 out of 8 against the teams we played is very solid. We beat every team in the division. I left as a fan. I didn't think of hey, I want to go get someone differently in terms of quarterback. I left as a fan of the product on the field and the grit from Geno. And again, like we said, second worst offensive line in the NFL, close to the worst for most of the year. And he still was top 5 in all of these major categories passing the football.
So, guys, we got to see we saw the Buffalo Bills, but we got to see the Broncos at the beginning of the season. And I think my reaction was Bo Nix looks like a mediocre to very below average quarterback. He has really developed, a sign that, you got to wait on these quarterbacks sometimes. And he's got the Broncos into the playoffs. I think this is the one we're all expecting to be a blowout. Any impressions on this game?
No, I'm with you, Abe. I think this is going to be a blowout. Buffalo is just too good. They don't have the chops on defense to stop the Buffalo offense, and I think Bo Nix probably. I mean, he's like you said, he came on strong late. Had a rough start. But I don't see this game being a game past midway through the third quarter. Honestly, Buffalo is just too high powered. The Josh Allen, there's too many weapons everywhere. Denver deserves all the credit, this season. Bo Nix especially, but they're probably, I see them missing the playoffs next year in their quest to get better, and then maybe coming on strong the year after and maybe being a really good team. But I mean, even the spread is 8.5. So like that's probably going to be an ass whooping.
Well, and think about this too. The Bills are the visiting team, and they always say give 3 points to the home team, right? So, it's it's probably more like an 11-12 point spread.
Right. Wait, who's the visiting team? Broncos are the visiting team.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, the Broncos. Oh, you're right. That's
Denver
other way around. Other way around. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. My bad.
Another 3 points.
My bad. You should have 3 points anyway. I think it's going to be that
bad.
Right. So for me, it might be because I'm wearing the Buffalo hat and to support of my, girlfriend's family that's all from Buffalo. So yes. I might be feeling the curse of Buffalo in the playoffs, but I'm looking there. When we played them during the regular season, I thought maybe Sean Payton's career was dead. But I'm looking at this team as, yes, they played the backups of Kansas City, and that wouldn't happen against a full-strength Kansas City, but everything went right. They must have so much, from that game, a lot of buoyed confidence coming in. They're firing on every single cylinder, right? Beating, the Super Bowl champs coming in. Buffalo might end up being a little bit rusty, right? They took last week off. feel like sometimes Buffalo gets cursed in the playoffs, and Sean Payton's such a good coach. I think Buffalo will still win, but that Denver team is very dangerous, and they're going to come in with a lot of confidence, beating Kansas City, even though it was the backups. But I agree with you overall. I think Buffalo has too much talent in the end, and they'll end up pulling it out. Josh Allen's just too good of a quarterback right now, but I'm a little bit nervous for this game, just because it just feels like Buffalo could easily win the Super Bowl, but just as easily get caught up in some of their difficulties the last few years and get bounced early from the playoffs.
Right on. The next game, I'm still trying to figure out if the Packers are pretenders or contenders. They've got the wins. I mean, they've got the record, but they go into Philadelphia, who I think is a stronger team. Am I underselling on the Packers here, or is there something that they're doing that I'm not seeing?
I think Green Bay it depends on which Green Bay team shows up, right? They are just as good. I got to remember, we talked about this recently. Green Bay is only the third best team in their division because the other two teams were virtually unbeatable this year, right? So, Green Bay is first in any other division, with the exception of the East, right? But the point is, Green Bay is a good team, and if they're showing up playing their best football, honestly, I think they have a halfway decent chance of beating Philly. We don't know what kind of product that Jalen Hurts is going to put out because he still have any cobwebs in the head from his the head knocker he took. Philly's a wild card for me. Again, play on the word, but I just don't know that they are clearly. Now there's the Saquon factor. Now if he gets going, then you're gonna have a hard time beating that team, period. But I think the Eagles are just one ugly game or one rusty quarter of football or a couple of mistakes away from dropping this game to Green Bay. I honestly, I don't know if I'd pick Green Bay overall, but I definitely am looking for Green Bay to make this a game, and I would not put it past them going in there and beating Philly.
Well, I guess he didn't have a concussion. Have you heard that there's still leftover effects from that?
I haven't, right? But sorry, go ahead, Nate.
Oh no, you're good. I thought I read somewhere where Jalen Hurts was also saying he'd never gotten a concussion ever, so I'm not sure on how reliable of a narrator he is. So.
I would expect that from a concussed guy to say that.
Yeah,
I never even heard of it. Yeah. Concussions are a myth, right?
Yeah.
No. I don't know. Yeah. Who knows what the real truth is, right? I guess the truth will be told, when they get out there on the field. I've had trouble giving Philly, just the nod, really at all, except for, during this second third of the season where they were really kind of just running. Saquon was running over everybody. It was like, forget about it,
Yeah.
But now we're in the big dance and, it's win or go home. Teams, they press in areas where they normally wouldn't press, and they hold back in areas where they may not normally hold back. And all that equation, equates to a win or a loss and a move on or a go back to the couch. So I'm wide open on that game.
Nathan, I'm not buying the Packers, and sounds like Rob's not buying the Eagles. Where do you fall?
I think normally, they're just such a fun team to watch. I think the difference this year is Saquon. I wanted to watch Saquon in the playoffs for a long time. Mm-hmm. But so going in all year long, I've been very excited for this Eagles team. Just watching a player like that have the room to operate, have one of the best O-lines in the NFL to help buoy him to some of these crazy plays he's been making. So I think the Eagles are definitely one of the teams to beat in this game in particular, mostly because of being a Leonard Williams fan. I want Philly to crash and burn. I want to see them get run all over by Josh Jacobs. Jalen Carter looked like he should definitely not have been an all-pro. And the Packers, show how crazy the NFC North was this year. But outside of that, of just taking my Leonard Williams fandom and his how much he, in my opinion, deserved both Pro Bowl and All Pro out of the conversation. This Eagles team, because of how insane they are in the trenches, is going to be very dangerous. I could see them beating anyone, even in the entire NFL in these playoffs, if they can go on the kind of run that they went to end the season, where they just really looked unbeatable, minus the Hurts injury. I'm kind of seeing them as being that team firing all cylinders potentially and winning it all. So I like this Eagles team. Yeah,
the North Georgia Bulldogs is basically.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's football. Trenches matter. Let's take a look at the evening game, the Commanders and the Buccaneers. I think this might be the most exciting one. I think this is the game that has two teams that are pretty much at the same level and have some offensive firepower. But this is also kind of a reflection of the veteran that got a second chance in Baker Mayfield versus the up and coming rookie. It just seems like there's a lot of good stories and interesting personalities, and then of course Bobby Wagner in that middle linebacker position for the Commanders. I feel very invested in this one. A couple of Huskies on this on this field. The big one to keep an eye on is Jalen McMillan, and see if him and Mike Evans can tear into this Commanders defense. I'm just super stoked for this. I'm kind of pulling for the Bucks, but wouldn't hurt to see Bobby Wagner advance either.
Yeah, he's a 11-time All-Pro now, which sorry, Rob, I'll let you go in a second, but just unreal to me that
that's a record for a linebacker, by the way.
Yeah, and I think only maybe 4 or 5 other guys in the history of the NFL have done that. He's going to be first ballot Hall of Famer for sure now. If there's any team in the playoffs, I don't think they have a shot to win it all. But if there's any team that I could pick, to win it all, it would be this team. I just want to see Bobby Wagner win it all. I like Dan Quinn. I like that team. I don't think they have the tools though to go very far yet. I think that's still a rookie quarterback, still some other issues on defense and some of that, but just wow, like 11 All Pros is, by the time Luke Kuechly was retiring, there's some statistics coming out about this, but he's basically now being nominated for the Hall of Fame. He's at the level where he's left the NFL long enough where Luke Kuechly's now getting nominated for the Hall of Fame, and still Bobby Wagner's getting All Pros even after that time. So it's just unreal. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, kind of going back to what we were talking about a minute ago, I could see Denver and Washington playing in the Super Bowl in a year or two. These teams that are just, that have promise. I like the Washington team. They look strong. They've looked great at times. To Nate's point, I believe they just have some more work to do. They're not Super Bowl contenders this year. I love to see Bobby Wagner, have continued success, or just, have wins under his belt. But Tampa's tough. Tampa's gritty. That the Baker Mayfield is, talked about how teams don't wait on their quarterbacks, don't give them time. How sick to the stomach must Cleveland be? You know what I mean? Like, you had this guy, and you didn't wait it out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And now Baker Mayfield's out there playing great football. I love the grit, mentality that he brings to that team. Sometimes it's rough, but he powers through it. And he goes out there and just plays ball, and I love watching this. So, tough for me to call. I think I want to see Tampa. I have Tampa winning this game. It'd be great. Again, I have no dog in this fight, but whoever wins, it'll be awesome. But I'm taking Tampa.
Right on. So the last game would be Monday's game. Again, that game moved from Los Angeles to Arizona due to the wildfires. What do we think about the Co-NFC West champs? Are we rooting for them for division pride, or do we hope they fall flat on their face, embarrass themselves, and look like a pile of poo, like they deserve. I have a strong feeling about this. I may have made it clear who I want to win.
Yeah. So my motto is always, expletive word, the 49ers. And so in this case, since the Niners aren't anywhere to be found, we'll just swap that name out and put Rams in there. It's the NFC West rival. Like, no, I want to see them get beat into the ground and then beat down a little bit more. All Vikings all day was Skull Vikings. And like demolish the Rams. I don't want anything good to happen on Monday night. All purple people eaters. Go Vikings. Yeah.
Nathan, what do you think about the Vikings versus the Co-NFC West champs?
So I'm just picturing, imagine the Vikings 2 weeks ago. They've only lost against two teams the whole year. They've dominated, just heading into the final game of the season. Who do they have to play? Well, one of the two teams they've already lost to. And now first rounds of the playoffs, who do they have to play? Oh, one of the two teams they've lost to. Imagine going a whole year if they get knocked out of the playoffs this week and only losing to two teams, but only making it
having 4 losses
to the playoffs, and losing in the first round. So, just wild. I actually, though, I think we talked about Harbaugh earlier, and being that little bit of zen with that, I actually might root for the Rams here.
What? Why?
Campbell, when he talked met the opposing coach at the end of the game, said, "See you in 2 weeks." Rams have had that up above their their locker room the whole time. I actually like Puka from UW, Cooper Kupp's from Eastern. The way they're running that route tree with Stafford is awesome. Just super fun to watch. I don't want to see the Rams go very far, but I think this week it would be fun to see the NFC West kind of remind
NFC West champ, not
but just remind the NFC have the NFC West remind the NFC again that they're a force to be reckoned with. The North tried to claim the crown this year, and it's very deserving. But NFC West been pretty solid for a long time, and just because of record or any of that in the regular season, I think that goes out the window in this game. And it would be fun to just kind of knock them down a peg a little bit.
No, just no. It's you don't. No. Bad. Don't root for
there's all there's people who and I don't know if you're in this camp, Nate, but people feel like if you don't go to the playoffs or if you don't make it to the Super Bowl, then they would rather someone from their own division do it because it represents the only reason I didn't go is because this team in my division was better or whatever. And I'm like, no, I want the team that beat me to be the one that wins the Super Bowl, because then I can say that's why I didn't, I only lost because I played against the eventual champion, right? Like never, no. I want nothing good ever to happen for our division rivals ever.
I agree. And Nathan, you said you didn't even like Cooper Kupp because he beat you in high school.
Don't. Yeah, no, I don't. I guess it's more, I should knock on wood here, but I see it as whoever the Rams play after this, they're going to lose to. So it would just be fun to take it a little bit to the NFC North that thinks the whole conference is going to run through them this year and beat them for one game. But again, I agree with you guys. I should be careful playing with lightning here, because if they get on a roll and then end up the Super Bowl, I will be fully in the boat of I would rather, I would definitely rather not having to face a Super Bowl where an NFC West opponent is there. One very nice thing the last couple times the Niners got there was they lost, but those were tough games to watch because the amount of hatred I have for them is very, very high when it comes to the Super Bowl. So
I think that's fair.
It's just thinking that they're not going to make the Super Bowl. They might win one game, but they're not going to make it. Yeah.
I think I agree with you guys. The level of hatred for the Niners is at a level that's far greater than the Rams or Cardinals.
For sure. Absolutely. But I will say this to Nate's point, he doesn't feel like the Rams are going to go any further than, even if they did win, they wouldn't go any further than that. But see, that only serves to make me more upset, because that's like, listen, we took the Vikings down. We took the Vikings down to the last minute. You know what I mean? So if you're going to go in there and if you're going to go in there and not do nothing, like, let us go in there. Maybe we could have beat the Vikings and then beat the net. I don't know. As I was saying that, it stopped making sense. But I don't know. I just want my Seahawks in there, and if the Rams are there, beat them down. Beat them down. I hope Justin Jefferson goes for record-breaking yardage.
Yeah. So that's another bummer as well for the Vikings. I'm pretty sure they didn't just lose to the Rams. They got kind of stomped by the Rams when they did play them. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right. We're getting towards the end of our preview here, and the game's on in a couple hours. We always like to end our show with shout-outs. Let's go ahead and start off with you, Nathan. Who would you like to give a shout-out to?
We shouted out a little bit the kind of victims from the California fires. So I feel like as we transition to more of the positive note, talking about football, just Leonard Williams played one of the best seasons I feel like I've ever seen from a defensive lineman and a Seahawks fan. And just unreal. I will always remember that 92-yard touchdown. It'll help me forget, watching poor Larry Fitzgerald chase down Harrison in the Super Bowl and not actually get to him, and then losing that Super Bowl. So just really, really exciting year by him. Led the league in sacks for interior linemen. I think tackles for loss as well. Maybe even pressures. Should have been a Pro Bowler. Should have been an All-Pro or an All-Pro player as well. Just awesome to see. And just again, the Giants seem to not know how to keep talent on their team and how to properly coach the talent that they have. Yeah.
Right on. I'm going to give a big shout out to the company I work for, Blue Origin, tonight. The New Glenn rocket, for those who don't know, it's a competitor to SpaceX. So we launch our first big rocket, size of Saturn V, if you guys remember the old Apollo missions. We launched that tonight.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Shout out, Rob.
I'm going to give just a collective shout out, piggybacking off Nate. The victims of the wildfires in Southern California. Sad to hear that those who've lost everything, or some of them have lost their lives. But hopefully that they're able to get that under control here as soon as possible, and people can get into rebuilding their existence there. But outside of that, I want to give my shout out to my daughters who are competing in their first competitive cheer competition this weekend.
Very cool.
We're really excited about that. I've been watching practicing cheer routines in the living room for the past 6 to 8 weeks now. So they're ready for my girls to go out there and kick some butt.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for watching us here on YouTube and listening to us on Spotify and iTunes. We are at Seattle Sports Union on behalf of the Southwest Seahawk Rob English, the Savage Nathan Savage, and myself, Abraham DeWeese. We'll see you guys next time.
Go Hawks.